Good morning, everyone. Thank you for being here. I hope that you all will take away a lot of great information and tools from this year's project management conference. I'm going to introduce you to Dale Bondanza, a multi-published author, YouTube contributor, and influencer, innovative CIO, CTO, PMO executive who has dealt with technology during economic prosperity and austerity and delivered strategic and innovative technologies at world-class organizations. His mission is translating business strategy into technology strategy with a tactical planned execution. As a technology leader, he has been responsible for major global implementations, including multiple ERP rollouts. He has led global portfolios and designed strategic roadmaps with multiple organizations. Dale has helped lead the most major security initiatives in the history of public education, following the tragic events of Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School in February 2018. This was followed by moving 235,000 students to a remote learning environment within 4 weeks of the COVID pandemic. Pretty impressive. Dale helps organizations to obtain the next tier of success despite the forces set against them through a passionate focus on people, process, and technology. Give you Dale.
I'm going to swing between mics. We throw out a few things, so thank you all for coming. Try to full transparency. We've been working on the AV up here for the last 2 hours. In fact, this all works. Nobody breathed too heavy on the cave up here, so the staff here at Pembroke Pines Ford Center is amazing. One quick disclaimer. Anyone is easily offended by 4-letter words. If you've ever heard of David Goggins, I'm not David Goggins. He is a former Special Operations Navy SEAL, and he uses 4-letter words like so I'm no Goggins, but I did spend most of my adult life in Philly, so if anything slips out, I'll apologize in advance, but I'll try to keep that in check. So today I want to talk about I got a lot of stuff to cover today. I have 3 primary subjects that we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about IT leadership in the post-pandemic era. And what that really means is I'm going to talk about what I use as my personal mantras and then encourage you to create your own. I'm going to talk about my 9 philosophies of IT project delivery. And then last, I'm going to talk about a fractional relationship. So, clicker's supposed to work now. So let me see if the clicker actually works. There we go. Wow. So yeah, those are their 3 topics. Good, that worked. So let's see. Leadership mantra. Oh, before I start, let me back up one slide. There we go. Perfect. Quick show of hands. And I think I mentioned earlier as well, there may be candy flying throughout the day, so gotta keep your eyes open, gotta stay awake. I know it's first break out of the day, so hopefully it won't be too hard. But how many folks in the room manage? 60+%. Okay. Second question. How many people in the audience lead people? About the same. Okay. Did anybody raise their hand? One of those, but not the other. So do you manage or do you lead? Lead. Okay. Good answer. All right. So first one of the day. I don't want to make. Oh, all right. Arm better. I have practiced the third one. Good. Feel free to exchange later. You know, it is how the week. I got the best I can do. So let's advance here. So let's go into my mantras. So while these are my leadership mantras, every leader really should develop their own and lead those that they work with. These aren't trite. They may sound it because they're short, they're brief. Trust me, I've been working on these for between 15 and 20 years. So whatever your personal mantras are going to be, you need to embody them. My first, very simply, crawl, walk, run. Rome was not built in a day. Neither are projects, applications, teams, PMO, babies, or anything else worth creating. Start slow, build that momentum, and then run, understanding that you will occasionally stumble, which is always just an opportunity to refine the process to continuously improve. Second mantra is process first. You're going to hear a couple of recurring themes today because I'm a big process guy. So every complaint from every stakeholder should always examine process before blaming people or technology. In 30 years of technology experience, I promise you that if your processes are not well documented, including all the pretty pictures that go along with them, finger pointing will be the first avenue used. Third mantra is KISS. Everybody usually familiar with what that stands for. So keeping it simple, don't gold plate it. Good enough, don't let good enough be the enemy of great. 80% is more than good enough. And my personal favorite, don't reinvent the wheel. You're not that special. And we're gonna touch more on that in a minute, but 90% of technology at every company, and I know there's a variety of folks in the room from Nextera, Quest Diagnostics, to small, medium-sized businesses. 90% of what you do from a technology perspective is exactly the same as the person sitting next to or in front of you. 10% may be industry specific. I can't tell you in 30 years, half of which was as a consultant, how many companies I've worked for, literally over 30. The number of times since I've heard, well, we're special, we do things differently. The 10% is the jargon, that particular vertical. Again, be it energy, maybe it's manufacturing, I've been in pharmaceuticals, I've been in education. It's all. Fourth mantra, accountability. So everybody's heard of RAISY. Most people are familiar with the responsible versus accountable. So, second piece of candy, that's right. Let's go Kit Kat. Let's see. Both accountable and responsible. A hand would do it. Yeah. You were being shot. I know you're being shot, so I'll add. That was intended. Yes. Okay. That was the lady behind. At your feet. All right, it was close. All right. Crap. I'll get better with you. I'll get some. Okay. So that's a good quiz. So your kids are the only one home. They leave to head to a friend's house to go to a party. We'll be falling in the middle of the presentation. And when they leave to go to their friend's house to the party, they leave the front door. You return to find your TV and jewelry stolen by a thief that was caught, fortunately, on your ring door. Who's responsible for that missing TV and jewelry? And who's accountable? Say that again. Great. Say it again. Okay. And who's responsible? Oh. See, that's another kind of so responsible. I'll take parents. That wasn't my intention. I'll take responsible. Any other guesses before I slip out the answer? Who's responsible for that TV that you're going missing? Okay, we'll give you a perfect credit on that one. Oh, all right. Who is accountable? Who's accountable for that missing? The parents. Who said the thief? Bingo! All right. Get that. The thief is ultimately accountable. He's the one who came in illegally and responsibility, whole different level. Now, is he also responsible? Sure. So he's accountable, or he or she is accountable and responsible for thievery. Responsibility, all the way around. Children and the parents. Children left the door unlocked. The parents could have had an automatic door lock. They could have had a ring automatically lock the door after 4 minutes, like my door does. But responsibility and accountability. So that was a good answer to say accountability is so important in both project management and day-to-day IT leadership. So again, over explaining that. So let's talk about metrics for a second. You can't improve or what you don't measure. Makes sense. Most people have heard it. So don't measure what has no value. Anytime you're measuring something, you must constantly ask yourself, what am I doing to improve? Once I have that measurement, if you or your boss can't articulate exactly what you will be improving, when you find out the average amount of time it takes to write a use case and have the stakeholders sign off on it, then why are you measuring? Maybe it's interesting to know, but do I truly need to measure? Examine those reasons carefully. And lastly, which I don't need to say at a PMI conference, you didn't plan to fail, you failed to plan. Now, the only reason I have this up here, and it is truly my sixth mantra, is because I also give this presentation to boards and executives. Perfect, not just my IT background, but my 24 years as a PM. So this is an obvious one for this audience. I probably need to go too much into it. But now, which time? More candy. Who's paying attention? What are my 5 mantras? Bingo. Heard this from one of the ladies. Get better. It's good. Who said accountability? Marcus. Go see Marcus's presentation later. What time are you on, Marcus? 11:45. Downstairs, I think, right? Yeah. Oh, but also stay. Well, you're on to 11:45, Jennifer. Jennifer's right behind you. Keep hearing right about it. We set up the technology for burn-outs. He's up here. So, we had, what was the last one? What was the obvious one for this group? There you go. All right, good. Let's move right along. 9 philosophies of IT delivery. What is PPT plus C? So in IT, we tend to overuse that cliche phrase, people process. Of course, because we're in project management, I like to surround that with that nice warm fuzzy blanket of communication. But I have kind of a special way to project why PPT plus C is important to me and to the organizations that I bring that philosophy to. So what I usually say is people, process, and technology in that order, don't get it wrong. I'm not going to implement technology to make your crappy process give you crappy results faster. Six Sigma, I'm not going to implement a process that you don't have the people to support. And at the end of the day, all about your people. We currently have 4 generations in the workforce, from boomers to zoomers. And within 5 years, we will have the alpha generation in the workforce. I asked you earlier, were you a manager or are you a leader? Either way, you have to be comfortable in the next 5 years of giving direction to people on your team who are both 70 years old and 20 years old, and the 3 generations that will be in between those 3. So by 2028, you will have boomers, Xers, myself, I'll give that up now, Gen Y / millennials, Gen Z / boomers, and Gen Alpha, who today are 13 years old. But again, in 5 years, could be on your team. Do you think you can manage and lead that 70-year-old the same way that you're going to lead that 20-year-old? No, okay, good. Lapsing, shaking, that's good. You have to adapt your leadership style for every individual on the team. Is that really what it's going to take? See some nodding. That's good. Okay. So yes. So now, but there's also a moment of comfortability. But I have a few contemporaries in the room. So men and women of similar feelings. I.e., no on the side of the mountain. I'm gonna be honest, there's a lot of boomers on excerpt that statement makes very unfun. Because they're saying, hell yes, you manage everybody the same. One team, one dream, there's no I in team. Stop babying the millennials. Meanwhile, the Gen Y and the Gen Z folks are sitting in the room saying in their heads, everybody's different. We're on the team, each person brings something unique to the team. Everybody should be encouraged to accommodate that, bring their own. I have news for my contemporaries. This is one of those areas where you're not going to beat the millennials. They've grown up with technology. They've had a cell phone in their hands since they came out of the womb. They know more about technology than many of our contemporaries already do at their young age. And yes, from a management and a leadership perspective, it's amazing what you can do when you tap into an individual's motivation. So that's all I'm encouraging you to do is, as much as those individuals on your teams will allow you to work with them, you need to do that. And just like artificial intelligence, we humans, we continue to grow. But those of us who are stuck thinking that you can record high definition video on a 5.25 inch floppy, you need to upgrade your tech as well as upgrade your management leadership style. And I know not everybody in the room knows what a 5.25 inch floppy is, but Google. It's also easy to generate. I've done it myself, but you have to get out of that habit. So let's see, where did I leave it? Okay, so let's talk about the actual philosophies. So I'm gonna, each one of these 9 can literally, because I've done it, matter of fact, it's on my YouTube channel. I should have put that disclaimer out there with the occasional oopsie if I throw out a 4-letter word. You all are not, I am. But besides recording this on Zoom right now, this is also being live streamed to YouTube. But it's only a view of me. So I will re-upload this to my YouTube channel later. That's it's also part of today's quiz, but keep that in mind. I threw some cards and brochures out on the table there on the back of those cards is a QR to both my LinkedIn and YouTube channel. Anybody shows me that they subscribe to my YouTube channel today gets a candy jackpot after me. So each of these 9 philosophies has its own separate 20-minute lecture. And if you go to my PPT plus C lecture on YouTube, I'll go in depth in each of these. So I'm really only going to hit these at a high level today. So the 9 philosophies in order: business drives IT, not the other way around. Much like finance, IT is overhead to the business. And in almost every organization where the actual product is not a technological product, technology is just that. It's taken away from the bottom line. And a lot of people are not happy about that. But nonetheless, clearly technology drives every organization. So you need to embody concepts like servant leadership, authenticity, ethicalness, collaboration, adaptiveness, emotional intelligence, emotional sobriety, empowering other folks, and staying positive. If anyone in your IT organization says that they know better than the business, what the business needs, they shouldn't be here. Process first, again, a recurring theme. I've said it in my mantras, it's still true. Every time anything goes wrong, assume first and foremost that the process was to blame, not the technology, not the people, and you'll be right about 80% of the time or more. And again, if these processes aren't documented and mapped out, they should be. Counter. There we go. Again, another recurring theme, also from my mantra, means extreme ownership. It should mean in your organization, in your team, it's the single throat to choke. So that when you want to assign projects or tasks or activities to more than one individual, that's fine. But there's always a lead. There's always someone who is ultimately accountable. Accountability, going back to that racing model, there should only be one person that has that A in front of their name. Many people can be the big R. I even in my racing models use lowercase letters. So you can have a big R. He or she is really responsible. They're hands-on people. And then there's somewhat responsible. Sometimes I'll use a lowercase R for that to say that, well, they're also responsible too, but they're not the primary responsible part. But ultimately, only one A. Let's talk about compliance. Another easy one. Everybody's in very different industries, and trust me, I've been in quite a few myself. So that just refers to all your laws, all your internal policies, all those three-letter agencies, whether it's the FDA, whether it's high tech, whether it's PII, whether it's FERPA, whether it's ADA, computer systems validation, CSV, for those of us in the pharma or med device space. Follow all those laws. Remember that they're different beyond the scope of your four walls. They're different beyond your state, they're different beyond your country. I give a lot of interesting lectures. Do it today. I'll mention the subject. It's a fascinating area for some of us who have I've spent about 15 years in pharmaceuticals and medical device. In the last 2 years, I've done a deep dive into the cannabis industry, and people would be shocked and amazed at how much really cool technology there is in organizations like Canatech, which is the technology cannabis industry. But that's also another separate lecture on my YouTube channel called Moving from Bros to Pros. Good 30-minute spend. Let's talk about partnerships. We always focus on the direct customer of IT. So that's usually your operational folks, your HR, your finance, your communications, your marketing, your procurement, sales, engineering, manufacturing. But you also should focus on it. And I use the example because I spent 5 years with Broward County Public Schools. When we talk about who our direct customers were, and clearly as an IT organization, our direct customers are those internally that we serve, usually the adults. So whether that be, again, the operational folks like HR, finance, communications, etc. Your other direct clients in the case of IT in the K-12 system is also all your teachers, all your staff, all your personnel on 230 schools across Broward County. But then your indirect customer, in our case, was the students. So we're not necessarily directly serving students' technological needs, but we are indirect. So whether it's keeping in mind that your student is your ultimate, or if you're in pharma or med device, maybe the patient isn't your direct consumer, but that's also a facet of the partnership that you keep in mind. And then last, not lastly, synergy and outsource. Again, that's a pretty common one. What isn't in your core competency as an IT organization? Get rid of it. Outsource it. Give it to somebody else's team. Don't take pride in ownership to something you don't. Org structure. That's becoming more important. Who does what? This goes back to my 4 to 5 generations question. People need to understand where they fit in and what they're contributing to. This is especially true for the younger generation. I'll reemphasize business first, technology second. Reiterates again the earlier point. Whether you manage or lead by what does MUWA stand for? Yep. Management. Okay. MUWA, management by walking around. I'll give that to you. You had the first. I heard you said the first two. Management by walking around. And management or leadership by walking around. Say good morning to people. Now that we're back in a quasi-hybrid environment, or if you're back full time, harder when you're remote. Talk about that in a minute. So do the MBWA, do coffee meetings, do daily stand-ups, even if you don't need just 5-minute daily stand-up. Hey, how's it going? Zoffy meetings are the other, those are the little bit more current. Zoffy meetings is where you're having coffee over Zoom, or you're having virtual happy hours. So not uncommon for me to grab an adult beverage, hit somebody up at 5 o'clock and just cheers to the screen as you're just digesting the day or something. Number 9, global perspective. So everything beyond the US borders. If you're only a domestic company, that's cool. Think beyond the levels of your state. I mentioned cannabis earlier. Great example. Because cannabis is still a Schedule I drug at the federal level, if you happen to be the owner of a cannabis company that's based in California, Colorado, or any of the big major states that we all know about, and you do business in 7 different states, today, you have 7 different duplicative operations. You do exactly the same thing that you do in Florida, that you do in California, that you do in Colorado, that you do in New York, that you do in Pennsylvania. 7 duplicative organizations because you send anything across state lines. I can't send you the printed marketing material that I'm using here in Florida to you in Pennsylvania. If I'm managing if I'm the GM for Florida, Darren is the GM for Pennsylvania, we can exchange nothing, no intellectual property, no digital assets, nothing. He has his, I have mine. But when that gets descheduled, which will happen in the next 5 to 10 years, when it gets descheduled, when the Safe Banking Act, which has been in Congress for 2 years, once that gets passed, because right now cannabis is the only available opportunity to use in the cannabis sector, the amount of technology and project management that's being needed in the next 10 to 15 years in the cannabis sector is going to blow you away. Think 1932 and alcohol. I'm a big history guy, so if you don't know what that means, again, Google what happened from the early 30s, which is probably my father was born, as a matter of fact, until now. So with that, I do not want to take any of this home. What are my 9 philosophies? No perfect picture. Oh, you both answered the same one. All right, you haven't had one yet. So there, excellent. You must be in the farm industry. Process first. I gotta look at my cheat sheet. Go ahead. There you go. All right, there you go. Good job, partner. Oops, sorry. That was my bad. That was a bad throw. Global perspective. Good job. Good. Hey, don't say that to one. So, what else? What did we miss? I heard that one already. No, got that one. Yep, that was the one. That was one of the 2 I was looking for. Let's see what we missed. Yeah, we missed number 8. Should the marketing's there. I don't know the research. All right. Fractional leadership. How am I doing on time there? Doing good. 23 minutes. So yeah, good or not. Okay. I'll slow down right here. Okay, can't slow down. All right. Fractional leadership. So this is actually a kind of a favorite topic. It's something that I've recently started within the last year to give a lot of presentations on because it's becoming a thing. And it goes back to my generational leadership. And again, don't make this in any way feel uncomfortable because facts of life are literally just that. Right now, and I hit on the previous slide. Does anybody know what the current age range for boomers is? How old would they be today? Boomer today. Matter of fact, there's 2 generations of boomers actually. Believe it or not, there was boomer 1, boomer 2, believe it or not, there's boomer 1. So the youngest boomer today is 59. The oldest boomer is about 77. Younger than 59 are in that X generation. So the reason I bring that up is it's important to the fractional discussion. So let me just define a couple common terms. So fraction. You'll see a lot of job postings out there or job descriptions that have a V in front of them. It also stands for just because of the hybrid nature and so forth. Virtual, you'll also see a lowercase f in front of titles like an FCIO or a VCIO. Fraction, virtual, interim, kind of all mean the same thing. There's slightly different time frame perspectives because there's 2 types of companies. Let me say that there. There's 2 types of companies. There's technology companies, and then there's companies that don't know they're technology because everybody's technology. I don't care if you're a mom and pop bodega or if I walk into that bodega and they have a credit card machine, They have a register / point of sale term. They have somebody keeping track of their inventory. They may have somebody keeping track of their books. Maybe it's in Quicken, maybe it's in QuickBooks. I guarantee you, if I took away their technology, they would be out of business. So everyone is a technology company. Everyone needs technology. So everyone needs some level of a technologist, project manager, an operations specialist. So as I have on the screen there, obviously I have the key highlighted for the PMI conference, but again, being forthright, I give this discussion to a lot of different groups. So there are fractional CIOs, fractional CTOs, fractional chief project officers, fractional chief financial officers, operating officers. Recently, I started to see fractional chief executive officers. I'll explain in a minute where that comes from. Fractional CISOs, fractional marketing officers, fractional HR folks. And the tagline, it kind of goes along with that. And again, I'll use it in the case, because we're here at PMI, I'll mention it in the case of project folks, is you can't afford a $200,000 chief project officer, but you can afford a fraction. And the company that comes and tells you, well, I have 3 PMs on staff, means I have a PM, right? They're probably very good at PMs, probably some BAs, QA. But do you really have a PM? Maybe you need a fractional chief project officer to come and help you set up all the things that surround an actual PMO, the governance, the methodologies, the policies, the practices, the templates. And again, we all know PMO can go from literally microscopic to CMMI level 5, NASA, GE type level. So think of that philosophy and how you could grow from a single or 2 or 3 PMs to a PMO and apply that to any of those letters that are in between the letters C and O. So whoever that executive is, CIO, CTO, CEO, COO, there's a fractional person that can come in and assist. The reason I mentioned generational earlier is because as those 59-year-old plus folks, those boomers, current boomers, as they start to get to a point where they're moving closer to retirement, have seen a need because there are some of the things that we already know. There aren't as many kids going into STEM, so there's not as many folks going into technology, not as many folks going into project management. We're going to find a need in the next 5 to 10 years to bring in these fractional resources. So what can these fractional resources do for? With this one. So we're going to talk about the service offering, use cases, and some of the deliverables. If you bring on a fraction, what you should expect. So let's go to the service offering first. So if you bring in a fractional CIO, fractional chief project officer, one of the things you probably want them to do is do an assessment of my organization. Maybe I need redesign, maybe I need a reorg, but how should the organization be set up to be most efficient, most effective? You want them to do a maturity assessment. Again, CMMI level 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Is everything done by Herculean efforts? It's a level 1, or is it an incredibly well-defined and responsive level 5? Probably somewhere in the middle. Again, been at 30 different companies. I've set up more PMOs than I can literally care to remember, and I don't remember anybody who started anything above it, even if they thought they were. Maybe you need this fractional person to help you develop a strategy. Maybe there's a good business strategy. Hopefully your business strategy from your executives is not just sell more. But I have been at companies where the CEO thought that was a strategy. So do you need assistance turning business strategy into a technology? Maybe you just need help with staffing. Again, we're going to touch on staffing again in a minute, but we all know staffing is becoming incredibly more difficult. HR is having an incredibly difficult time between the Great Resignation, flag quitting, all those factors are real. Maybe you just need your applications analyst. Maybe you need more BAs. Maybe you need architecture and infrastructure. Governance, as we know, I think project management applies to everything. It applies to data, it applies to processes, the projects themselves, the portfolio. You need a transformational officer. All kinds of governance availability. Support services, so what do I need support in? I need somebody to help me manage my vendors. I got 99 vendors, and I love 5 global partnerships and 5 local folks. Can you help me reduce the amount of vendors I'm reducing? Can you help me on procurement? I don't know what I'm buying from who, I don't know what my licenses are, I don't know what my counts are, there's nobody to keep track of it. Yeah, there's software, but I got nobody who's really looking. Should that be under the purview of the PMO? All good questions, not making any statement, just saying these are some of the things that I've experienced and some of the things that I believe the fractional leader can bring to your organization. And then lastly, budget, that's always an easy. So let's also talk about some of the use cases. So why would I need a fractional leader? I mentioned some of the services that you have, but what are the use cases? Maybe I just need to mature a team. Maybe I need to mature a department. If you're a leader in a particular part of your organization and you want to mature something, but you don't necessarily want to go out and get that really expensive person to come in and lead a team. And again, as I'm saying that, I'm also thinking in my head, what you may be saying is, well, that's like contractors. Yes, but the typical contractor you're going to bring in do not have what a lot of those exiting boomers and Xers are going to have from that fractional stuff. I talk about this when I do Zoom meetings from home. I have my home office arranged kind of on purpose. It faces me, it faces my background, and I purposely don't blur my screen and kind of go tangential. Because this is kind of a pertinent example in this case. When I'm talking to folks, I talk about the wall of paper that's in front of me, that's over the computer, that's over my camera, that you can't see when you Zoom me from home. Yeah, I got all the pieces. I got 17 inches after my name. And I say this one. I'm sorry. Yeah, okay, I'm kind of sick. That's not what you're paying for. You're paying for this stuff right here. This only comes with birthdays. This doesn't come with a piece of paper. That's what you're paying a fraction. You're paying for that experience because I've been down that road and I've effed it up more times than you can shake a stick. I tell the young project managers who I teach it, like, until you've been personally escorted to the door by a man with a gun on his hip, you're not proud. You haven't taken ultimate accountability. Until somebody shows up to your office with a box and says, yeah, Dale, thanks, but today's your last day. That happens, it's happened to me about 6 times in my career. It's not a fun time. Gives you a little bit of this. But it is an incredible experience and an incredible teaching. So again, the reason I bring that up is because what I do show on my Zoom camera is the fun stuff. Because you want to engage the people that you're working with. Find that common thing, whatever that thing is. If you were to zoom into my own home office, over my right shoulder, you would see a fire helmet hanging on the wall. Because when I was living in the Northeast, where I'm from originally, born and raised in Buffalo, yes, 17 years of my adult life in Philadelphia, which 17 years volunteer firefighter in the EMT for about 12 years. Doing IT and project management by day and riding the big red truck. I also have over that same shoulder a cross made out of wine corks because while my other half and I are wine snobs, I'm also an ordained minister because I had a lot of friends that couldn't get married in a traditional church, so they needed somebody to help them. So I'm here for that. That's still over the right shoulder. Picture of my fur baby. Most gorgeous Bernie Doodle doors. And then on the left shoulder is how my other half and I met. Is all of our medal and trophies because we both used to be morbidly obese. We both called 16-6, everything your mother told you about. And she and I met because we were both competitive athletes, blind runners since the start. So on my left shoulder, and she's also a musician. So as a classic musician, she has 4 jobs. She's keep her head above water. She teaches elementary school music by day. She plays 3 masses on the weekend. She has 10 or 12 piano and guitar students at her school. She's in a band that's been in a band for 30 years. Pre-COVID, it's gigging every weekend now. But I just say that all to say that find something, anything to connect with everybody on your team, and you will be shocked at how much value your team will continue to improve recent. Get closer in time. Other fractional use cases. Thank you. Application restructuring, rationalization, cost benchmarking, substitute leader. I like that one because oftentimes one of your executives will say, hey, there's a new project we need you to work on, but who's going to keep the lights on? Who's going to do BAU or KTOO? You're bringing in that fractional person just to help you keep the lights on, just keep managing the day to day while you focus on that special project. Or vice versa. Maybe you need them to come in and be because you know that project has a chance of going south. So I'd rather not be associated with this. I'm going to bring in Darren as my fractional leader and let him be the single throat attorney. Personnel evaluations, always good to get an independent third party opinion. Deliverable. If you bring in a fractional for any of those services or any of those use cases, what should you expect from that fraction? Again, we talked about doing a maturity assessment. So obviously you should get one of those. Maybe you just want your people assessed. Maybe you need them to help you build a technology roadmap. Here's my business strategy. That person maybe help you put that technology in place. And now you also ask them to build a roadmap to get you there over a next period of time. Maybe you just needed them to help you develop dashboards, whether it's KPIs, OKRs, etc. They should not only create that dashboard for you, but show you how to maintain it. Contractor, vendor evaluations. All your vendors living up to their SLAs. Has anybody ever done that? Vendors SLAs. Does anybody know what SLAs mean? Somebody needs to go and take a look at your vendors. And again, lastly, this is kind of again a recurring theme. You'd be surprised how many organizations don't have proper alignment in their organization. You shouldn't have more than 4 levels between CXO and the lowest level in your organization, depending on the size. So why is leadership important? Another couple of quick seconds of questions. What does, and just throw these out, not throw candy as you scream. Define technical debt. Does anybody know what that word means? Debt. So it's for the quick fix. Okay, I'll give you that. Bad data? Yep, take bad data. Come on, it's a ton of them. Technical debt, a lot of candidates. Technical debt. How about hardware? Anybody still running say? Anybody still running Windows Me? Anybody still running Windows NT as a server? All right, so technical debt, we've got a couple of examples. Technical debt, anything that's legacy, anything that you need to update that needs to be corrected. So here's the key point of bringing up technical debt. Are people technical debt? Thank you for the quick yes on that. Sorry, that was my bad. But yes, people can be technical debt. As I do here again, not prepare ourselves for the 5 to 10 year runway in front of us. So how are we going to prepare ourselves for that 5 to 10 year runway? What I'm about to say, especially if you any HR folks before I. Okay, so not sticking my foot completely in my mouth because there's no HR in the room. Believe it or not, integrated whatever you want with your management, but in the next 5 to 10 years, I know it's no way you do that, Dale. You need to overstaff. Yes. I don't care if you think you need 2 people, I'm telling you, you need 6. Birth rates are slowing. The STEM graduation rates cut in half. Onboarding is slow to a crawl. Ask your HR people. Turnover is at an all-time high. The upgrade is on the rise in the form of quiet quitting and burnout. You, especially as project managers, you're becoming part-time psychologists because you're helping de-stress the rest of the team. You're taking on the challenges of coaching other people that you shouldn't have. We must continue to hire based more on attitude than aptitude. And I say this all the time to my technology friends who sometimes get a little iffy about it, especially in the AI world. Technology is easy. I can teach you technology in an hour. If you're a non-technical person, I can teach you more about technology in an hour than you learned in the last year. I can't teach you how to be nice to someone. I can't teach you how to work with somebody. Mentoring, doesn't matter whether you're a CXO, I'm mentoring a young CIO out of Tampa right now. Everyone needs a mentor, no matter your level in the organization. With that, 41 minutes is five more than I rehearsed, but I didn't plan on that. Yeah. So please visit my YouTube channel. If you are up there, subscribe right now, you get a community cash grab. All the lectures that are out there on my YouTube site include the full version of this lecture, which is PVP plus C. I talk in depth about first rule, fractional CIO, branding. If you need your own brand, go check out my brand. Moving from pros to pros, that's subtly not just about the campus industry, but it's also about all the industries that have developed since the beginning of the pandemic. Whether it's food delivery, through startup services, through home office decor, there have been hundreds and hundreds of verticals that have been created in the last 5 years. Opportunities for all of us. And my tech talk. My Devil Tech Talk is my podcast. Anybody wants to be on the podcast, feel free to send me an email. Happy to have you on the podcast, whatever you're going to talk about. It's really more marketing thing to both of us. But it's a quick half hour, sit down, schedule it whenever, and I usually rebroadcast. So if anybody wants to be on that, feel free to let me know. So with that, there's a pretty good couple of them. 66, that was the first, that really had nothing to do with it. And in my case of comments. Questions in the 90 seconds we have. Oh, thank you. Feels loud. Any questions? Anybody just want candy? Go ahead. Okay. There's more. Let's start just chucking it.
Is there anything, I guess we're going to expect all of them to be relationship and we're going to be perfect. And how to find it? We will come into a conference.
Whenever you're looking at anybody fractional, there's obviously time. The easiest way to describe that to most people is typically any organization, no matter what your vertical is, whether you're IT, procurement, marketing, usually they allocate about 8 weeks. So it's usually about 2 months. And in 2 months, in 1 month, they'll know everything they need to know. And I would say that about technology in my case, if I came in as a fractional CIO. In 1 month, I'll select all the data, and then in another month, I'll put it all together and make it ready for you. And then you can decide after the end of that 2 months, okay, I'm going to take this, I'll implement this, or you can decide, well, hey, maybe I want that person to, come in and actually implement this. Yeah, it depends on how much you want to afford. Again, you're not going to get that $350,000 CIO, but for 10% of that, you can get 1 or 2 days a month, maybe 4 days a month of somebody who will, you have a half dozen geeks, they're doing a great job and keeping the lights on and keeping the website up, keeping the network up. They're not going to get you to that method. You need that fractional CXO to get there. Good question. Fraction. It has become a very big trend post-COVID because there are so many people that are exiting the workforce, especially in those boomer and exo ranges, that fractional has become thing. So, Julie, yeah, right. And again, I'm telling you, fractional project management is a thing.
Yeah. actually.
Yes. So, Gartner's 3 and 5. The Gartner's 3 and 5 rule, it still applies to most organizations. You can put that in some, but in general, your technology budget should be 3% of your total gross revenue for the company. So if you're $100 million business, you should be spending 3% of that on IT, so about 3 million. 5% of the total headcount in your organization, say you have 1,000 people in your organization, 5% should be in IT. Now that adjusts, again, I spent 5 years in government where those numbers are a little bit tough. So 1.5% of your total revenue goes to IT. And again, numbers are adjustable, but I can work through those with y'all. Any other last minute question? No, Julian's waving me off, sorry.
Thank you.
Michael, gentlemen, thank you.
Yeah.